Since we began exploring space, we've been looking farther out in the solar system to see what's there. And in 1992, we discovered the Kuiper Belt, an icy, cold, and dim region beyond Neptune's orbit. There have been a lot of interesting discoveries there recently, and some strange and mysterious objects have been found floating around in the belt. What are these objects, and is it possible one of them is an alien ship? Kuiper Belt Mysteries Part 1. Let's start. The Kuiper Belt has millions of strange objects in it. Some are 100 kilometers wide and some are really huge, measuring 1000 kilometers in diameter. So, what are they? Kuiper Belt objects or trans-Neptunian objects are the remnants of the very birth of our solar system 4.5 billion years ago. It's a huge volume of space, as you can imagine, while we had just discovered a tiny fraction of it. We have already found about 2000 Kuiper Belt objects. However, some of them raise more questions than they give answers. So, today we are going to discuss about the object named Aran, discovered by the New Horizons space probe. In April 2016, the New Horizons probe reached the dark and mysterious Kuiper Belt. As the probe was moving past Pluto and nearing the belt, it discovered a weird object on a strange trajectory. It was given the name Aran and it was measured at 133 kilometers in diameter. While researchers were looking at it, it appeared to grow brighter, then dim in a precise rhythm, suggesting it was spinning. Most objects in the belt are made of ice and rock, but this thing seemed to be made of something different. Astronomers were right, but Aran was spinning so fast, about once every 5.5 hours, that if it was made of ice and rock, it should have torn itself apart from the centrifugal force alone. But it didn't. Scientists started to wonder what is it and what's it made of. It was time to get in for a closer look. So, NASA steered the New Horizons probe in its direction. But something weird happened. As the probe approached Pluto on its way, communications were suddenly lost, as if something was jamming the signal. As the probe moved away from Aran, communications were again restored, which turned out to be a computer glitch. But NASA was prevented from finding out the truth about the intruding spinning object. Some researchers suggest that the spinning could be some giant ship, something you may have seen in science fiction films. Could this object be an interstellar alien craft? Most likely not, but there is always a slim chance. If you were an alien species and you wanted to get a look at the strange creatures known as humans, the Kuiper Belt would be the perfect place to hide. So moving on to the next one. In 2014, astronomers discovered a weird celestial body in the outer reaches of our solar system. Its estimated size was roughly 32 kilometers across, and what's truly interesting, its shape resembles a snowman. In fact, scientists have struggled to understand how such a shape could have been formed. The object was named Arrokoth and has been visited by the US space probe in 2019. It has become the most distant space object we have ever examined at such a close distance. Arrokoth is an example of the most primitive object in our solar system, so you may think there is nothing interesting about it. For scientists, flying past Arrokoth was as thrilling as exploring Pluto up close. So what's so special about it? One theory suggests that our solar system formed from a dense cloud of space, dust and gas. All that material, as gravity pulled it together, transformed into the planetary system we see today. There is just a tiny gap here. We don't know what happened between these stages, and because the average Kuiper Belt temperature is about minus 370 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 220 degrees Celsius, Kuiper Belt objects are typically well preserved so they can fill in those gaps. And Arrokoth is one of the missing puzzle pieces. In studying this weird-shaped flat object, scientists came closer to uncovering how space bodies in our solar system were formed. Arrokoth is a contact binary object, meaning it consists of two parts stuck together and since these lobes differ in color, it could indicate they have once been separate objects that formed from dust in the primordial cloud over 4 billion years ago. But how did they come together without seriously damaging each other? It turns out, collisions that took place billions of years ago were not that fast and violent. In the case of this Kuiper Belt object, gravity made the two separate parts slowly rotate around each other and bind together in a slight collision. Each celestial body has an intruding formation story. Still, there are many different mysterious objects in the Kuiper Belt. We'll cover up about them in the next part. So stay curious, subscribe and ring the bell because only curious people can do that. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.